Welcome people to the very first lesson in this Python programming series. Before we wire any code, before variables, before syntax, and before building anything, we need to answer one important question. Why Python? That's the best place to begin. Because before learning any programming language, it helps to understand what it is, why people use it, and what makes it worth learning in the first place. So in this video, we are doing a Python Q&A session. No coding yet. This is just about understanding Python clearly before we start working with it. We'll answer the most important beginner questions about Python: what it is, why it's popular, where it's used, what makes it useful, and where its limitations are. So, let's begin. So, first question: why do people use Python? Python became popular because it provides, or rather, it solves a lot of common programming problems in a simple and practical way. People use Python because it helps them write cleaner code, build software faster, run programs on different systems, use powerful built-in tools, connect with other technologies, and overall make development easier. And that combination is what made Python one of the most widely used programming languages in the world. Let's start with software quality. Let's start with software quality. One of Python's biggest strengths is readability. Readability means how easy code is to read and understand. That matters because programming is not just writing code. A big part of programming is reading code, fixing code, updating the code, and understanding the code that was written earlier. Python was designed to be clear. Its syntax is simple, structured, and easier to follow than many other languages, especially for beginners. That means Python code is often easier to read, easier to debug, and easier to maintain over time. This is one of the biggest reasons Python is used so widely. It helps developers write code that is easier to understand, not just easier to run. Next reason is developer productivity. This means how quickly a developer can build something useful. Python is known for helping developers work faster than many other programming languages. In many cases, the same program takes fewer lines of code in Python than it would in languages like C++ or Java. That means less typing, less setup, fewer chances to make mistakes, and usually less time spent debugging. Python also runs code immediately, that is, immediate execution. You write the code, run it, and see the result. There is less setup between writing and testing, which makes development faster and makes learning easier. That quick feedback is one of the reasons Python is so beginner friendly. The next is portability. Now, before I explain this, you have to know, for the new learners who don't have any experience in coding, what do we mean by portability? Portability means a program can run on different operating systems without needing to be rewritten. Usually, if a program, suppose a program is written in C++. In C++. Now, C++ is a compiling language, right? So it needs to compile the code into machine code, that is consists of 1 and 0, and like this, ones and zeros, and it it's done by us another program named compiler. Compiler. Now, if a machine, suppose if the C++ code is written on Windows and it needs to run uh, on Linux, it won't run in Linux because it is written in C++. The compiler of the C++ in the Windows machine is not the same as the Linux machine. Or it could be, or maybe it's the same, but it could be also that the Linux doesn't have the appropriate C compiler. So it it needs to, so the machine needs to have the compiler installed already to run the C++ program. But in Python, no matter no matter the compiler, because compiler doesn't exist in Python. Python is an interpreted language. So in interpreted language, the code transforms into bytecode, and in byte, so it doesn't need a compiler. So there is no compiler, so it can run on Linux, it can run on Mac OS, it can run on Windows, the same as it is. So this, for example, so like if you write a Python program on Windows, that same program can often run on Linux or Mac OS with little or no change. That is what portability means. Now this is useful because different people and companies use different systems. A language becomes much more practical when the same code can work in multiple environments. Python is known for this. In many cases, you can write a program once and run it on different systems without changing the code much. That makes Python very useful in real-world development. Now let's talk about libraries. A library is a collection of pre-written code that solves common problems. You will see this in future lessons, the use of libraries. So instead of writing everything from scratch, developers can use libraries to save time and work more efficiently. For example, if you want to work with dates, files, or web requests, or math, Python already has tools for that. So you don't have to write, suppose you want to find out the average of a certain data. You don't have to write the code for that all the way. You have a library. You can call a function and it just finds the average of that data set in just one step. Those tools come from libraries. So Python already has tools for that. So Python includes a built-in standard library, which means it already comes with many useful tools ready to use. Beyond that, Python also has a huge number of third-party libraries, which are tools created by other developers that you can install and use in your own programs. This is one of Python's biggest strengths. If you want to build websites, analyze data, automate tasks, work with artificial intelligence, or create software tools, Python already has libraries that help you do that. That saves time and makes development much easier. So you can do almost anything with Python. Another major strength is integration. Integration means Python can work with other languages, tools, and systems instead of existing on its own. In real software development, One system often needs to communicate with another. Python is very good at this. It can work with C, C++, Java, and .NET, and so on in many other languages too. It can connect to databases, it can communicate with APIs, it can automate system tools. It can also be used alongside other software instead of replacing everything. This makes Python very useful in larger, real-world systems. Another reason people like Python is that it is simply easier to work with. Enjoyment. Python removes a lot of unnecessary complexity. Its syntax is easier to read, testing is faster, and writing programs usually feels more straightforward. That makes learning easier for beginners and makes development smoother for experienced programmers too. This may sound less technical, but it matters. When a language is easier to work with, developers usually spend more time solving actual problems and less time dealing with the language itself. Now, is Python a scripted language? Now, is Python a scripted language? Yes, but that term needs context. A scripting language is a language often used for small to medium tasks such as automation, file handling, task execution, and connecting other programs together. These are usually tasks where speed of development matters more than raw performance. Python is often called a scripting language because it is very good at this kind of tasks. It is faster to write, easy to run, and useful for automation. That said, Python is not limited to scripting. Python is also a full general purpose programming language. General purpose means it is not limited to one kind of task. Some languages are designed mainly for one specific area. Python is not. You can use Python for automation, web development, software tools, desktop application, data analysis, artificial intelligence, scientific computing, and much more. So Python is often used as a scripting language, but it is not only a scripting language. So the term scripting best describes Python's rapid and flexible development mode, not a particular application domain. Now let's talk about the downside. Python is not perfect. Its biggest trade-off is execution speed. Python is generally slower than compiled languages like C or C++. That means Python programs usually take more time to run when performance is the main concern. This happens because Python focuses more on ease of development than maximum execution speed. So if raw speed is the highest priority, Python is not always the best choice. But in many real-world cases, development speed matters more than the execution speed, and Python often saves much more time during development than it loses during execution. Also, in performance-heavy areas, Python is often combined with faster low-level code behind the scenes. That is one reason Python is still widely used even in demanding applications. So, what's the downside here? Execution speed not always as fast as compiled languages like C and C++. Bytecode execution, source code, as I've said before, in Python, as it is a interpreted language, the source code gets converted into a bytecode by a machine, and then it interprets that bytecode and runs the program. We will run. We will get to know about this section in the next lesson. Uh, then it's fast enough, runs at speed for real tasks, files, UIs, etc., and development speed matters, as I said. So It has its benefit and its it has its pros and cons. So who uses Python? Python is used by individual developers, startups, universities, large companies, and major technology companies like Google. Uh, I have used Python in large-scale systems. YouTube used Python in its early infrastructure. Intel and Cisco, Intel and Cisco have used it for testing and automation. Studios like Pixar have also used Python in production workflows. And there's also BitTorrent, which uses peer-to-peer file sharing that uses Python. Google App Engines for web development framework, Eve Online, Maya, all of these uses Python. So that range is important because it shows Python is not limited to one type of work. It is used across many industries for many different kinds of problems. So what can you do with Python? You can use Python for automation, web development, desktop software, APIs, databases, data analysis, scientific computing, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and rapid software prototyping. It is used for both beginner projects and professional systems. That range is one of Python's biggest strengths. Then don't worry about the terms and languages here. You will get to know in the series what are these means and what is internet scripting, what is component integration, what is rapid prototyping. You will get to know it all. So I'm just giving you the overview of the benefits and what is Python. So what are Python's technical strengths? Python is object-oriented, portable, flexible, powerful, and easy to use. It supports modern programming concepts. It works across platforms. It has automatic memory management. It integrates well with other systems, and it keeps the learning curve much easier than many other languages. And as it is an open source, it's free. So you don't need a license to use it. You can even sell the source code of Python if you want to, but you know, it's free. Everyone will get it, so you won't get a chance to sell it. But if, technically, you can sell it. And what does it mean to be an open source product? Open source product means anyone can uh, access the source code. Anyone can change it in their own system, not in the official system. Anyone can improve it to on GitHub to like give a pull request to them, and the administrator would review your code, and if it's good, then it will be integrated with the official Python. And so open source products are run by many contributors of developers who contribute to these open source projects, and Python has a vast community of contributors to us. And as I said, it's portable, runs on every platform from PDS to supercomputers, powerful, mixable, and of course it's easy to use. So that is not the main reason Python has remained relevant for so long. So how does Python stack up to languages? Um, so it's more powerful and support for programming in the large versus DSL. And if you compare it to Perl, it has cleaner syntax, whereas Perl has a much more complex and it's harder to read. It's easier to execute in Perl, but it's harder to read. It's simpler than Perl and more readable and maintainable. Versus Java, it's simple and used, same as Perl, scripting language approach. C++ is simple and easier to use. Simple Stars, Visual Basic, it's more powerful. Visual Basic is for Excel if you don't know it. The formulas you write in Excel is Visual Basic, so it's more powerful than that, more cross-platform than that, and of course it's open source. Versus PHP, more readable, Ruby. readable, uh, more mature, and object-oriented programming, that is OOP, is optional. You will get to know it in the future lessons. And some of the older languages like Smalltalk or Lisp, those are like less industry standards and less used. Compared to that, Python is dynamic, simple, traditional syntax, as always. So the main takeaway is simple. Python became popular because it is practical. It helps developers write clearer code. It speeds up development. It runs across different systems. It comes with useful tools. It has a massive ecosystem and it is flexible enough to be used in many different areas of software development. It is not the fastest language. It is not the best choice for every task, but it is one of the most useful and accessible programming languages to learn, especially for beginners. And now that you understand what Python is and why people use it, in the next video we'll look at how a Python program actually runs behind the scenes. So see you next time.